Welcome everyone to another episode of Trident Talks. I'm Josh, the recruitment director here at Trident, and I'm very excited to be joined by someone I know very well, Kev Jones, as the CTI Lead at Anglo American. Kev, welcome. Thank you for joining us. So, Kev, as I said, the Threat Intel Lead at Anglo American. I know a lot about you. I'm sure there's many other people that do as well. But for those that don't,
well, the good stuff or the bad stuff.
Yeah, keep it clean. Our editing's not that good. But just tell us, who are you? What's your background? I suppose, how did you get, in a real short form, how did you get to Anglo American, and how are you now Threat Intel Lead?
So my background is, I suppose, mainly military. So joined the military from a fairly young age. Not that I'm that old now. Did 30 years, almost 30 years, 29 years, 11 months or something like that. But did long enough in the military. But that was all in the intelligence corps. So do lots of different types of intelligence, whether it be sort of electronic warfare, ELINT, SIGINT, HUMINT, IMINT. There's various different forms of it. Although I'd say in all areas the processes behind it are fundamentally the same. So it came to a natural end after that length of time, because you get old, knees hurt. So leapt from there. Was lucky enough to land a really good role with JP Morgan. Spent some time there. So really from that point it was financial services. Went from JP Morgan to Santander, which was based in Madrid, and then came back to UK at possibly the worst time. So literally as I came back to UK, everybody went into lockdown. So it was kind of,
And you left Madrid as well. Who would want to be locked down in Madrid?
well, I mean that's a completely different story, podcast, I think, because it was a rush to get out of Madrid. Not because I'd done anything wrong or the police were after me or anything exciting like that. But you could see the way it was going. The whole country was about to get.
And they went down in lockdown a lot quicker, right?
So I wanted to be home. When that happened. So I got out of Madrid, and then of course sort of sat there thinking, right, what am I going to do now? COVID's on, and then this role came up at Anglo American, which was very much, I think, driven by the crisis at the time, because then the company realised that they've got a really good capability, both security and intelligence to a certain extent, but it's very sort of fragmented around the globe depending on where their operations are. So because of the COVID crisis, they made this decision that they would start to look to build a more centralised global capability. So I think flash to bang was almost less than 2 weeks, I think, from the first phone call inquiry to actually starting, although it has to be done at the moment on a contracting basis because of the speed with which we're getting people in. So it's really interesting. It's building a capability, not quite from scratch, because there are some very, very good experienced people in there, but trying to bring it under a global umbrella so that it's better coordinated, I think is a good way of putting it.
Yeah, nice. Do you think your role will be, obviously it's global, will it involve a lot of travel when obviously all this lockdown and everything lifts, because you've got so many different entities everywhere, trying to bring all into one? Or
I think it potentially could do, because the enterprise has got a really good opportunity at the moment, because they can actually build a capability that it's all combined. There's other organisations I've worked for and seen. You have cyber threat intelligence, or cyber full stop, but certainly cyber threat intelligence is the new kid on the block. The old-fashioned, let's say, for want of a better word, physical security and physical intelligence and all that's been around for years. So a lot of organisations have kind of set up this separate entity to deal with cyber threat intelligence, whereas actually there are a lot of very capable intelligence analysts already in their establishment. They're just not potentially doing the cyber side of it. And I know there are institutions now, and certainly one large financial institution that I won't name, that is actually now looking to start to combine all this together so that you have one central intelligence function that can cover both cyber and security intelligence as well. So Anglo's in a really, really good position. It hasn't got to break down anybody's empires. Nobody's already set up one sort of function, and it's now going to be worried that that's getting taken apart and these new kids are going to come in and take over. They're not quite started from scratch, but they're starting from a really good position where they can just build up a global capability that is, functions across both physical and cyber threat intelligence and physical security, and then hopefully eventually we'll all sit under the security umbrella.
Yeah, nice. That actually brings me on to my next point. And I really want to ask you this because of your 30 years in the military, physical, human, and very much what you say traditional. I don't want to say old school, but I want to say traditional. but that traditional threat intel piece, right? Everyone's so focused now on CTI and the cyber and the landscapes and attack surfaces and stuff. You've obviously come into Anglo to combine that and to, I suppose, look at it holistically and bring it all together and not fight physical versus cyber and trying to fight for budgets and trying to fight for almost like the CISOs and the CSOs approval and who's doing the best job. Is that something you think everyone could benefit from? Obviously, organisation dependent, of course, on terms of size.
Yeah.
Surely, if you work together in a team and you're lucky, like you said, you've started in that way already. It's not like you've got two experienced teams that you've got now try and clash and combine.
Yeah.
Everyone would benefit from surely fusing it. No?
I think so, yeah. And I think it's, the only reason this hasn't been done before is because cyber is the new kid on the block. If you look at sort of the military model or government model, most intelligence, whether it be intelligence agencies or, military battalions or whatever, have functions covering, several different areas. I mean, there are outliers as well, obviously. But, if J2 deploys, if the intelligence deploys somewhere, it takes every capability. It doesn't have a little, it might get, as we know, it might get isolated through, classification or whatever, but the actual fundamentals, are the same. And the process, no matter what, whether it be cyber threat intelligence or, as you said, old school intelligence, are the same. So they're the same processes that go into it. It is merely perhaps the tools you might use, the vendors and the technicality of it. So the range of technical knowledge I think a cyber threat intelligence analyst needs is probably slightly more than a normal, security threat intelligence analyst. However, the actual processes that go behind, but even in that cyber threat intelligence area, I think you need a range of, technical ability. From almost, from the pure, what I would call threat intelligence analyst who is dealing with the processes, writing the reports, dealing with people, doing the briefings and all the rest of it, right the way, to the other end of the spectrum where you've got your very technical, monitoring the networks, looking for the activity, reading the matrix, basically, technical analyst. So I think that is probably the only difference. But of course, when in a cyber threat intelligence section, you've got the less technical analyst doing the less technical work and the more analysis and learning, going through the processes to learn how a threat actor works and therefore, trying to predict what he might do next, etc., which doesn't need the ability to sit there reading the matrix.
Yep.
Those guys are more than capable and probably have done in the past. The security threat intelligence as well, because again, that's less technical. It needs that same process. So to me, it's just common sense that those people sit together. And then again, there is so much crossover. Where, I mean, even if you look at the attack matrix, one of the initial access sort of tactics, techniques, etc., is the physical access attack. So we all talk about in the cyber world, turning off your USB ports, but that is a form of attack. It's a physical access attack that's going to lead to a cyber attack. But the physical access side of it is now starting to lean more towards the physical security, the threat, the regular threat intelligence. So I mean that's just a simple example, but there is lots of crossover, I think. And the fact that you just have all those, if you just something simple, I just think, the ACH, the famous one, the analysis competing, hypothesis. Just having all those people, rather than just having 3 cyber threat intelligence analysts sat at one end of the corridor and 3, security threat intelligence analysts sat at the other end of the corridor. If you have them all set together, you instantly start to get that type of modelling being done or methodologies being done, because threat intelligence analysts tend to talk to each other and start to bang theories off each other.
And they all have the same goal, right?
Sorry?
And so everyone they all have the same goal.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody loves a good conspiracy theory, and fundamentally, if you think about it, that's often what a threat intelligence analyst is trying to do. He's trying to come up with a conspiracy theory as to why, why is this happening? What is happening? And who's behind it? And okay, we'll call it an executive summary at the end of the day, but if you're doing your job right, really, it's a well written and well presented conspiracy theory as to who's
you're going to start something new now.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah. But it has to be a theory. You should be predicting what is likely to happen, not if all your executive reports are telling the executives what happened last week, and you're not really doing intelligence. Do you know what I mean? You're just writing a newspaper for them, a little news sheet about why we missed it. So really, you are whether it be cyber threat intelligence or physical attacks, you're predicting what is likely. What do you need to worry about? And these are the likelihoods of this happening in the future. So you are almost writing conspiracy theories that this is what I reckon is going to happen.
Love it. Okay. So moving on then, not particularly in your role at Anglo, but just generally, you're so obviously involved in the threat intel world. What do you think the future looks like for intelligence on a whole? Not necessarily CTI, but do you think it is going to be that more fusing the physical and cyber threat?
I hope so. Yeah, I hope the amalgamation comes in. I think in the corporate world, there has to be a lot more trust than there is at the moment. I've only sat in the corporate world for now, 5 years, 5.5 years, and I have seen it grown in that time. The level of sharing is going up, and that's across the board, and that's got to improve. I look back on my military days, and the level of sharing there is just phenomenal. And that's not just NATO, Five Eyes, and all the rest of it, because even in the military, some of the most successful sharing that you see in the corporate world is the unofficial sharing site. So exactly. Everybody's a member of a signal group or something where there's information being passed around, but then it's done purely on a trust basis. You get some of the best information from it, but it's not information that you could ever use for a business advantage. But what you can do is you can protect your own enterprise really, really quickly, and that's something that's been going on, as you're aware, in the military for years. Unofficial sharing, where you build those networks of people, that if you have an issue, exactly exactly who to call. So I think that needs to happen. So yes, the amalgamation, yes, the trust needs to grow, but I'm seeing the trust growing all the time, and that's really that's really refreshing. And then I think that we're going to see a lot more automation, especially around the sort of more technical end of threat intelligence. We can see the automation coming in there. I won't say artificial intelligence because I'm not a fan that even exists yet. Maybe. No. It's machine learning fundamentally, I think. I don't think, unless somebody's going to really prove me wrong, we're at artificial intelligence Will Smith levels just yet. Another couple of years perhaps. And the good thing about that is the more automation you can bring in at the technical end, the longer it gives the analyst, because you're always going to have the human analyst, because fundamentally, yes, you can bring in machine learning, evolving algorithms in order to try and use historical data to try and predict what's going to happen in the future and see. But you still need the human that's got to make the call. So he's got to analyze it from his own experience. And then there's the good old gut feeling, because sometimes that gut feeling does work. Do you know what I mean? There's an instinct that you have because you've learned about the person who's attacking you that this is the way they always do it, but there's something not quite right this time. So what are they doing different and why? The new things, I think a human is still better at picking up than the machine learning, because the machine learning is only learning from what's happened in the past. If they learn the network, I get it, something anomalous will be picked up, but frequently, if you've got a human attacking the network or a human attacking something physical, I always feel like a human is better at thinking like a human than a machine is. So yes, if you get an automated attacks, then I'm sure machine learning's the way ahead. But because most of these attacks are being done by humans, then you need humans on the defense side as well to think like they do.
I suppose then the future, it looks like hopefully amalgamating the two types of intelligence teams, I suppose, and then ideally, if we can, in a best case scenario, automate the more technical end of intelligence to allow the analysts to actually do what humans are really good at, which is creating conspiracy theories.
Yes, yeah, fundamentally. Yeah. But I mean, they've got to be realistic, conspiracy theories. And every now and again you've got to be right as well. So you can't just
get some wins.
You can't just go outlandish.
Perfect.
I mean, you're only judged. I can't remember the exact phrase, but certainly in intelligence, you're only judged by your last product. You know what I mean? So the last report you put out, if it's completely outrageously wrong, then that's what they're going to remember. And it can take you 30 years to build up a reputation. It only takes one bad report for that reputation to take a huge hit. And that's not an individual reputation, that's intelligence as a whole, and especially in the corporate world, because in both certainly cyber threat intelligence is a new kid on the block, but even threat intelligence itself is fairly new to the corporate world. So it's taken a while now to start to build that trust, and that's why I love capability building, because when you can actually see the trust building within the organization, as people are initially like, well, why do I need this?
Skeptical. What is it going to be?
And then you start to feed them product like, oh, actually, this is quite good. This is quite handy to
know. Start poking up. Yeah,
exactly. And then word of mouth. If that area of the business is getting it, I'd like it as well, please. So it's
the appetite increases. Absolutely.
Exactly. So the stakeholders, the customer base grows, and all of a sudden, you've got this great reputation. But as I said, it only takes one bad product that is completely off the mark. And then all of a sudden, the naysayers are back, and you've got to start building that reputation all over again.
Kev, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah, bye now.